Wall Street ended solidly higher, and the S&P 500 and Nasdaq closed at record highs Thursday after another batch of upbeat earnings and data suggesting the labor market may be stabilizing. U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen is calling a meeting of top financial regulators this week to discuss market volatility driven by retail trading in shares of GameStop, silver, and other stocks favored on social media. Former President Donald Trump's lawyers on Thursday rejected a request from Democrats for Trump to testify at his impeachment trial set to begin in the U.S. Senate next week. These and more on TFT News. I'm Mike Wallace, and this is TFT News. Consulting giant McKinsey & Co. struck a $573 million settlement with 47 states, the District of Columbia, and 5 territories to resolve investigations by most U.S. states into its alleged role in turbocharging sales of opioids, fueling a nationwide epidemic.
Consulting giant McKinsey & Co. has agreed to pay $573 million to settle investigations over its alleged role in turbocharging opioid sales as it advised drug makers, including Purdue Pharma. The settlement with 47 states, the District of Columbia, and 5 territories was announced Thursday by multiple attorneys general.
They must pay to clean up the mess that they made,
including North Carolina AG Josh Stein.
Purdue Pharma didn't dream up all of its ideas on its own on how to push its pills. No, it paid global consulting firm McKinsey handsomely for 15 years to design marketing plans to help it sell more pills to more patients at increasing potency for longer periods of time.
McKinsey did not admit liability or wrongdoing. As part of the agreement, it will turn over tens of thousands of internal documents concerning its work for drug makers, including Purdue, the manufacturer of OxyContin, which is owned by the wealthy Sackler family, and the drug maker most closely associated with the epidemic. The consulting firm will also continue to investigate whether employees, including 2 partners, tried to destroy documents in response to probes concerning its work with Purdue, which in October agreed to plead guilty to criminal charges over its marketing of OxyContin as part of a more than $8 billion settlement. More than 3,300 lawsuits seek to hold drug makers, distributors, and pharmacies responsible for an opioid epidemic that led to an estimated 450,000 overdose deaths in the United States since 1999.
Wall Street ended solidly higher, and the S&P 500 and Nasdaq closed at record highs Thursday after another batch of upbeat earnings and data suggesting the labor market may be stabilizing.
The Dow and S&P 500 extended their rally to a 4th straight day Thursday. A batch of upbeat earnings reports, a drop in weekly jobless claims, and hopes of further progress on President Joe Biden's $1.9 trillion pandemic relief package boosted the market. Crossmark Global Investments chief investment strategist Victoria Fernandez said low rates and strong earnings will keep driving stocks north.
Because we're in the middle of earnings season, people can focus on that and the guidance that they're getting from those companies, which has tended to be pretty positive right now. So you take that along with the Federal Reserve that said they're going to continue to be accommodative for at least the next year. And I think you've got an equity market that continues to be risk on.
That sentiment helped propel the 3 major indexes up more than 1% Thursday. The S&P 500 and Nasdaq closed at record highs. PayPal and eBay were among the S&P's top gainers. The surge in online holiday shopping from stay-at-home customers helped quarterly earnings from the payment platform and its former parent top analysts' estimates. Qualcomm shares dropped almost 9%. The chipmaker said supply constraints that have hurt the industry were hampering its sales growth. Video game retailer GameStop plummeted 42%, and cinema operator AMC Entertainment slid 21% after Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said she and regulators need to understand deeply the trading frenzy that has rattled Wall Street. The government releases its closely watched employment report Friday. Economists expect an increase of 50,000 jobs in January.
Smartmatic on Thursday sued Rupert Murdoch's Fox News cable network and Rudolph Giuliani, a lawyer for former President Donald Trump, claiming they defamed the company by falsely accusing it of helping to rig the U.S. presidential election in favor of Joe Biden.
Rupert Murdoch's Fox News cable network and former President Donald Trump's lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, are the targets of a $2.7 billion defamation lawsuit filed Thursday by Smartmatic, a maker of voting technology. The suit alleges they defamed the company by inventing a story that the election was stolen from Trump and decided to make Smartmatic the, quote, villain. Filed in New York County Supreme Court, it also names as defendants former Trump lawyer Sidney Powell and popular Fox hosts Lou Dobbs, Maria Bartiromo, and Jeanine Pirro. After the election, Trump and some of his supporters spread false claims of election fraud, including that Smartmatic and competitor Dominion Voting Systems manipulated the results. Unlike Dominion, whose technology was used in at least 24 states, Smartmatic's was only used in one place for the November 3rd presidential election, Los Angeles County, a Democratic stronghold which Biden won. The lawsuit, cited as evidence on-air exchanges such as one between Bartiromo and Giuliani on November 17th. Bartiromo asked Giuliani, quote, "What do you think went on here? Because when we spoke on Sunday, we talked about the software made by Smartmatic that was changing votes from Trump to Biden." On December 10th, Smartmatic sent a letter to Fox News demanding that it retract the allegations leveled by its employees and guests. But Fox did not issue a retraction. Instead, in December, it aired an interview featuring an outside expert who confirmed there was no evidence to support the Smartmatic claims by Fox hosts and guests. In a statement on Thursday, Fox said, quote, "Fox News Media is committed to providing the full context of every story. With in-depth reporting and clear opinion, we are proud of our 2020 election coverage and will vigorously defend the meritless lawsuit in court." Dominion Voting Systems has filed similar lawsuits against Giuliani and Powell.
U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen is calling a meeting of top financial regulators this week to discuss market volatility driven by retail trading in shares of GameStop, silver, and other stocks favored on social media.
U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen is calling a meeting on the market frenzy sparked by shares in GameStop, AMC, and others favored by a group of investors on the website Reddit. The Treasury said Tuesday Yellen will meet with the heads of major U.S. regulators, including the Securities and Exchange Commission and the Federal Reserve. It's her first public effort to address the market ruckus after amateur traders on the Wall Street Bets Reddit forum took on the big hedge funds of Wall Street. It sent shares of video game retailer GameStop up to a dizzying high of over $480 last week. The stock crashed back down to earth on Tuesday, along with Bed Bath & Beyond, BlackBerry, and the price of silver. The wild trend raised questions about potential risks to the financial services industry and prompted professional market watchers to call for a regulatory crackdown. Last week, the SEC warned that, quote, "extreme stock price volatility could expose investors to rapid and severe losses and undermine market confidence." According to a document seen by Reuters, Yellen consulted with ethics lawyers before calling a meeting with regulators and received clearance to do so. Reuters reported earlier this week that Yellen has received hundreds of thousands of dollars in speaking fees from hedge fund Citadel, one of the key players in the GameStop saga. An ethics agreement requires Yellen to seek authorization before getting involved in matters related to Citadel, as well as major banks like Citigroup and Barclays. A Treasury official who requested anonymity said her meeting will be held this week, possibly as early as Thursday.
Merck said Thursday Kenneth Frazier, one of only a handful of black executives leading major U.S. companies, will step down as Chief Executive Officer at the end of June and be replaced by Chief Financial Officer Robert Davis.
This milestone achievement is exemplary of what makes Merck, Merck.
Kenneth Frazier, one of just a few black executives leading a Fortune 500 company, is stepping down from the top job at Merck. The drug maker said Thursday Frazier will retire as CEO at the end of June, but will remain as executive chairman. Frazier made headlines in 2017 when he became the first business leader to quit President Donald Trump's Manufacturing Council in an apparent protest over Trump's tepid reaction to violence at a white nationalist rally in Charlottesville, Virginia. The grandson of a sharecropper, Frazier joined Merck nearly 30 years ago. He ascended to the CEO post in 2011. Under his leadership, the company developed the blockbuster cancer drug Keytruda, and it's now one of the leading products in a new generation of oncology treatments. Shares of the company have more than doubled during his reign. Replacing Frazier, Chief Financial Officer Robert Davis. He was a president of Baxter International's medical products business before joining Merck in 2014. The announcement came with the release of quarterly results. On a post-earnings conference call, Davis said of the man he will be replacing, quote, "His shoes won't be easy to fill in so many ways, both within Merck but also including his many principled and valuable contributions to important issues facing society today." Shares of Merck declined in early trading Thursday.
Former President Donald Trump's lawyers on Thursday rejected a request from Democrats for Trump to testify at his impeachment trial set to begin in the U.S. Senate next week.
Former President Donald Trump was invited Thursday to testify under oath before Congress either before or during his second impeachment trial due to begin next week. Democrats in the U.S. House of Representatives who will prosecute Trump sent a letter to him and his lawyers requesting Trump testify about his conduct before hundreds of his supporters launched a deadly Capitol Hill attack on January 6th. Jason Miller, a Trump advisor, told Reuters the ex-president, quote, "will not testify in an unconstitutional proceeding," and Trump's legal team called the request a, quote, "public relations stunt." Trump was impeached last month by the House on one charge of inciting insurrection during a fiery speech in which he urged his followers to fight his election defeat.
You'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength and you have to be strong. We will never give up. We will never concede. It doesn't happen. You don't concede when there's theft involved. And after this, we're going to walk down, and I'll be there with you. We're going to walk down to the Capitol.
His supporters then stormed the Capitol, clashed with police, and sent lawmakers and the vice president to flee for safety. 5 died, including a Capitol police officer. Trump's attorneys this week rejected the impeachment charge, contending that he, quote, fully and faithfully executed his duties as president, and that the Senate does not have the authority to hear the case because Trump has already left office and cannot be removed. Many constitutional scholars disagree. Trump will be the first U.S. president in history to twice face an impeachment trial.
Brands doing well during the pandemic will replace longtime advertisers during Sunday's Super Bowl telecast.
Yeah, eat local.
Or jump on the latest trend.
Uber Eats, along with other brands that are thriving right now, are taking over the airwaves during Super Bowl 55, while some major household names decided to bow out this year's telecast. Celebrity-laden ads, normally a mainstay during commercial breaks from the championship game, are going for a much lighter touch this year. Advertisers are aiming to inject some humor and levity into this year's most watched U.S. televised event after 11 months of social distancing and staying at home.
Hey, that's my face! You can't just wear my face!
Adweek editor-in-chief Stephanie Patterick says nostalgia is also the name of the game this year.
In a year unlike any other, this is going to be a Super Bowl unlike any other, and we're seeing a lot of new trends. One is nostalgia. You're going to see a lot of ads that are bringing back characters you have loved from the past, and are harking back to what we might remember as simpler times.
While Super Bowl advertisers usually go for laughs or a tug at viewers' heartstrings, this year, brands are skating a fine line to avoid insensitive humor or to further depress sports fans after an emotionally draining 2020. But there won't be ads from 2 longtime advertisers, Coca-Cola and Budweiser. The 2 major corporate brands are instead using their dollars to fund vaccine efforts and save money during uncertain economic times. their absence makes room for a new roster of advertisers, including DoorDash, tech gadget maker Logitech, and even embattled trading app Robinhood to take up the slack.
Last year, Fox sold 30 seconds of Super Bowl ad time for $5.6 million. This year, CBS sold it for $5.5 million, a little bit cheaper, but there's a caveat. They charged an additional $300,000 to brands who wanted to show those ads for people streaming the game on CBS as well.
Thanks to those new Super Bowl advertisers, Viacom CBS said all the spots for the big game on the CBS broadcast network are sold out.
And those are the latest from around the world. I'm Mike Wallace, and this is TFT News.